Okay, I guess we'll get started since I see the recording is starting right on time. So we want to start right on time. Hello. Okay. I'll be like third grade teacher. Welcome. I will just get right started. This is a lovely picture of Philadelphia that I just put on here because I don't like to start the presentation without starting the presentation. This is What Students Want Part 2. I presented the first year that I did this. I presented at CALI 2 years ago in Baltimore. So this is kind of the second part. And since it's summer and there's lots of big movies coming out, I decided I wouldn't call it Part 2. I'd call it the sequel. So that's what we're going to do here. Who am I? I'm Laurie Ralston. I'm the Director of IT at Arizona State University at the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law. So I started doing this because it's very obvious students have technology. And they're carrying around with them all the time. And I wanted to figure out how can we use their technology to do things we need to do as IT people, as librarians, as administrators of the university or of the colleges and the law schools. So I thought, well, before I get started in this, I'd like to think about what are the students, what does research say they have? What are they coming into law school with? What do they have in undergraduate university? So ECAR says in a study that they did in 2009, ECAR is EDUCAUSE Center for Applied Research. So there's a brief citation on the bottom there. Basically, 8 of 10 undergraduate freshmen come into college with a laptop. And not only that, the laptop ownership has increased hugely over the last for last 4 years, while desktop ownership has gone down. It's almost a completely opposite correlation. So while laptop ownership has gone up, desktop has gone down. So obviously these kids are coming into college with mobile computing. Obviously there's also networking, which was immediately embraced by teenagers, specifically with MySpace when it came out. And then slowly but surely the other age groups have kind of come along over the last 3 years, and their usage has increased, not as much as the teenagers, which really they kind of started out high in the first place, but the other age groups kind of have come along behind them. And then text messaging, which really is the thing that got me started on this whole trying to figure out what students did, because I have teenagers and they all have cell phones and they always have their cell phone in their hand texting constantly. In fact, I have to call moratoriums on texting when we go to Disneyland or somewhere like that, where I don't want to see them texting their friends all day long. But 9 out of 10 students are texting. Oops, I hear a monkey. Probably texting someone. They text at least usually once a day. So they're not only do everybody texts, all of them text all the time, pretty much. And anecdotally, I know that's true in my house. So what do they use their internet-capable handhelds or cell phones for as far as college is concerned? Again, these are undergraduates. Well, of course, they use it for email. They want to be able to get their email. They want to be able to access student administrative services like grades and registering for classes and changing their addresses and stuff like that. And then they want to be able to access their course management systems like Blackboard or whatever. So those are kind of the 3 top big things that they were using them for. So it's clear that students still communicate through this research right here is called I can't remember, how college students spend their time communicating. It's very clear that students still communicate as much as they ever did. I mean, the consensus a few years back was that people, everybody we were all going to be sitting in our laptops and not like having any kind of interaction with anybody else. And we know that now that that's not true, that in fact many people interact with others more than they did before, because it's much easier for them to interact with others over online than it is face-to-face. So this research shows that it's clear that students still communicate as much as they ever did. It's just the ways that they're communicating with technology has changed that communication. So that's kind of the background. Well, I kind of did a lot more, but I didn't want to bore you with all of it. But basically is that obviously students are coming into law school as graduated undergraduates with lots of technology skills, at least technology, and they're using it a lot. They're texting, they want email, they want to be able to access services, and so they get into our law schools and we have to figure out what do they know and what do they want out of this technology communication with law school. So what about law students? Well, they come in tech savvy, but they also come in as younger people able to multitask better and able to very quickly sift through the information and just disregard, ignore the stuff that's irrelevant to them, that they don't think matters. But what happens is I think that, personally, I think that they possibly over-ignore and they miss stuff that they need to see and they need to know. It's important information from the law school or the university. So I decided to do this survey because I wanted to find out if we could start using text to communicate with them. That's what I did in 2008. And I've done the survey the last 2 years as well. So I have 3 years of surveys. So I wanted to know, what do you have and what do you use it for and what can we use it for? So I asked them. Springs. I gave the survey to 1 and 2 L's who were going into every spring, who were going to be 2 and 3 L's. I figured it wasn't worth giving to the 3 L's because they pretty much are checked out and they probably wouldn't have answered anyway. And basically, I wanted to know what was coming into the law school, so it made more sense to do the first 2 years. It was completely voluntary. The nice thing for me is that I am out and about the law school constantly, so many, many students know me, and even if I don't know them, they know who I am. And so I have a good rapport with them. And so just by asking them, I know you guys are busy, really help me out if you do the survey, and I got a pretty decent response. I got about 90 to 100 responses each year, which is about 25 to 30% of those 2 classes. Our class size is about 180, so it was about 360 students altogether, and I got between 90 and 100. So it wasn't too bad. Pretty good for not scientific. And here's what they said. First, let me tell you who they were. They were mostly JDs. We do have some LLM students, and we do have a master's level program that is an LLM. It was fairly split between first years and second years. It varied from 40 to 60 and 50-50 to 60 to 40, but it was more or less split, and it also was more or less split between men and women. And the age of the respondents, obviously the blue, you can see the blue is our 20 to 29-year-olds, which is, the majority of our students. This pretty much mirrors our class demographic. So we got a nice, good section of the population that I was going for. So I asked them, just real basic, I asked them a whole bunch of things, but really the basic things were, do you have a cell phone? Do you have an iPod? Do you have a laptop? Now, we don't require laptops at our college, but most of them bring them. So you can see cell phones, almost everybody comes to law school with a cell phone. iPods is pretty high, and I should have probably put it in here, but I also asked about other MP3 players, and that was not quite as high as the iPod, but almost. In fact, the percentages didn't add up to 100%, so some people obviously have both. So it looked like most people had at least, if not an iPod, some other kind of MP3 player. And almost everybody as you can see, almost everybody shows up with a laptop of some kind. Some of them are ancient, but you know, that's all right. They have something they can access the internet and print. That's really all they want to know. That's all they really want to do. So the first year I did this, I had this question in about their cell phones. What does your cell phone do? Does it have a camera? Does it play MP3? Does it have games? Record audio? Do you get your email? Can you access the web? Can you IM? And the answers on it were yes, 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 yes. And it became very clear to me that students nobody pretty much had a phone that just did phone call people. So I took that question out. It seemed kind of dumb. So I asked them, what do you do? What do you use the internet for? And I asked them about all kinds of social networking, MySpace, Facebook, all the obvious ones, but also like Ning and Flickr and some other really kind of more obscure things, just to see. I don't really give all the data that I got because a lot of it, they just like, I don't even know what that is. So I started with MySpace, and again, with teenagers, this was a few years ago, in 2008, that I noticed that my kids are on MySpace just constantly. In fact, I even went and got a MySpace page so I could keep track of them. So I asked these students, do you use MySpace? And if you can look, it says never use, but the never use is the orange. The use, a lot or sometimes, is the blue, and it really, I got nobody this year. No one was using MySpace. So while the use has gone down, the never use has gone up. So pretty much MySpace, not applicable at all in law school. At the same time, Facebook has gone up. So the first year was about 53%, and this year it was about 80% of students are on Facebook. Other things, I asked them, to use your iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, Google Docs, and spreadsheets. And our university, Arizona State, is a Google school. We were one of the first schools that go to Google email and have all the educational applications. I kind of thought those would be high. And then Google Sites, which kind of surprised me. But so let's start with iTunes. We are also an iTunes university, so we have a pretty big iTunes presence and have been on it for about, I think, 4 or 5 years now, almost since the beginning. And as you can see, that has gone up to almost 70% use iTunes for something. That doesn't necessarily mean they're using iTunes University, but they do use iTunes, which is somewhat promising. A lot of them, 60% of them, go to YouTube. We have started at the law school a YouTube channel, so again, I don't know if they're using our YouTube channel. We just barely used it. Mostly the dean likes to record little messages for our students and post it to his own little channel. And I made it, he's got a Mac, so I made it so that he could record directly from his computer and automatically upload to his to iTunes, YouTube, sorry. But beyond that, we're not doing a lot. But it looks like there's a good portion of students using it. Twitter, really not too many. Now we have a Twitter channel for the law school, and it has a lot of people following it. But my feeling is that most of those people are either alumni or random people, because you know how some people follow anybody, anytime, for any reason. So there's only about 8% of our students actually get on Twitter. Google Docs and spreadsheets about 23%, and then about 40%, and it's kind of gone up and down over the 3 years, use Google Sites. And actually, for our student orgs, they can either go to the university and get actual web space, but I've been recently, within the last year, telling students, you know what, just go get a Google site, because it's just really easy to put a site up. Takes you, half an hour, and you've got a site up. Whereas the other one, you have to go apply at the student org, the university student org department, and it's like a whole process to fill out a form. Just go to Google Sites. So they're starting to do that because we refuse to post any student anything at the law school because there's just too much. I don't know about your law school, but I think we have like 50 student orgs. I've lost count because there's like 2 or 3 new ones every semester. Texting was the thing that got me into it originally, and I asked them, you know, do you text? And they do text. They text a lot still. I mean, even when I asked, it was at like 75%, and now it's up to 87%. They text all the time. So that was, you know, it's kind of on the money there. How do we use this? How do we take advantage of the fact that they text each other all the time? And then I asked them about reading and writing online. And the things I wanted to know about were blogs and wikis. Do you read blogs? Do you write on a blog? Do you either have a blog or write comments on other people's blogs? And wikis, do you read wikis? Do you use wikis? And do you contribute to wikis? And it's pretty low all across the board, and particularly for the actual contributing to these things. So most people, they read wikis and blogs. Not most, like 30 to 40% will read wikis and blogs, but only a very small amount of people actually contribute to those things. And a little more to blogs, and I'm guessing most of those are probably comments to other blog posts. Although I know that we do have some students who blog, and then we also, our law library has a very successful blog that they've been doing for years. In fact, Tina might have been on that, I don't know. And so there's a lot of activity on that. So that may be what they're counting, I don't know. And then I asked them, well, how about online classes? Have you ever had an online class as an undergraduate? Because we currently don't offer any online classes at our college. We're working on that. Have you ever had one? And they almost across the board, they said, about half of them said yes, about half of them said no. That was for a completely online class. And then I asked them, how about a hybrid? You know, where you met like maybe once a month and the rest was online or whatever. And even fewer of those had actually done it. Only about 30 to 40% had any experience with hybrids. And then I asked them, well, if we offered an online class, because the ABA does allow for some classes to be online, a percentage at a point in their law school career, that they can take online classes. And we are developing some online classes, more specifically for our LLM programs, but there are also classes that are taken by our JDs. And it's gone up and down over the 3 years, but it's still right about half and half, you know, about half of them would and half of them wouldn't. So that was interesting to find out. I said, if there was an online class, would you prefer synchronous or asynchronous? And they almost overwhelmingly said, you know, two-thirds to three-quarters of the time they'd rather have asynchronous classes. And then I asked them if we posted, also still knowing that you still have to go to class, but if we audio recorded classes and then posted them to iTunes University, would you listen to them? And it was pretty good. We got about 70 to 80% of people said yes. Over the 3 years, they said yes, we would listen to them, we would like that. Although I have to tell you, in the comments, in the first 2 years, I had several students say, I don't think that's fair. If you weren't paying attention in class, you shouldn't get another chance. Kind of not understanding that some people, myself included, you know, I take notes copious and then I go back and I'm like, what the heck? What was that? And it would have been really nice to have been able to go back and listen to the lecture or parts of the lecture again, so I can say, oh, he said that, oh, that makes sense. You know, it would have been really nice. So it was just a kind of little funny side note that they said. And then this year, for the first year, I asked them, well, where do you study and why, basically. I asked them, where do you study? And I gave them 3 choices, either the law library, actually I gave them 4 choices. The law library, our main building, we have 2 buildings, home, and somewhere else. And then I asked them, how important is having a wireless internet connection in your choice of where you're going to study? And those are the 2 questions I asked them. About half of them said they like to study in the law library, which is pretty evident on any given day. tables are full. And in fact, we have now limited access to our library during the school year to just law students because we built 2 new undergrad dorms across the street, and we were afraid that we would have an onslaught of undergrads trying to study in our library. But it's pretty active all the time anyway, even with just law students. And then half of them said, you know, they prefer to stay at home and study. And about that wireless connection, they all said, it was like overwhelmingly, it was extremely important that they had a wireless internet connection. So that was kind of interesting to find out. So my big questions in doing this survey, which is, I went to the survey yesterday, which I can't remember your name, but he's back there, which was just, I went because I was curious. Oh, this sounds a lot like what I did, but it was a very differently focused survey. My survey, I wanted to know, what do you have, what do you use it for, and what can we use it for? How can we better communicate with the students without overwhelming them? I constantly hear, I get too much email. You know, they go and complain to the dean that they didn't know something was happening. And then I can go back, because I'm on all the distribution lists, and find like 3 or 4 emails. And there was posts on the website, and you know, and they're constantly saying, "Well, I didn't know about it." They got it through email, and then they complain, "Well, we get too many emails. I missed some of them." And then, what can we offer from an educational standpoint to improve their educational experience? So it's kind of twofold. It's kind of communicating outside of the classroom. And then how can we use the same information and kind of maybe offer some other classes? So my question to them was, okay, so how do you want to get law school news and notifications? Now the first year I did this, I only asked them about texting because I wasn't planning on making this a long-term thing. And I really just wanted to know, like I said, I saw my kids constantly with a phone in their hand. Would you like kind of over general law school news, and you know, we're having a conference, this big kind of, you know, this professor published a book, that kind of news. Would you like that news for texting? And you know, about 35% of them said, yeah, sure, why not, send it to us. Then in 2009, and then I don't know if it's because I gave more options for them to choose from in the last 2 years, or if texting became like emailing in the interim between 2000 and 2009, 2008 and 2009. And that they were, you know, it was really cool in 2008. Yeah, sure, I'd like that. And then by 2009, it was like email. They were just getting way too many of them, and they didn't want to deal with it because they said, no, I don't want anything texting in the last 2 years that I did it. You can see it's the green, which is, this one's almost non-existent. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was like 5% and less. You know, they wanted mostly the blue ones, you can see, email. They complain they get too much email. They wanted an email. You know, I asked them about Facebook. Not really. Some of them did, and that kind of went up and down. Oh, actually, that's about the same. Twitter. We don't have too many Twitter users. You know, they don't want it. And then the law website, which we do post everything on our law website. It's, you know, connected to our school calendar, and so they can pretty much find out anything that's actually going to happen at the law school, from classes up to huge conferences that we do, and everything in between, except for if it's something that a student org is doing outside of the college. That doesn't necessarily get posted there, but everything inside meetings, class, you know, student org meetings, anything like that gets posted. And you know, that's the brown. You know, 30 to 40% of them said, yeah, I go there sometimes for that. And then we have a law school newsletter, which was published every month in 2008. Last year, because we have a new, well, he's not new anymore, he's 2 years old, dean who has increased our activities tremendously. And the communications department that puts out the law school newsletter was just overwhelmed. So they really only put out, I think, 2 last year. So that went way down to the dark blue. Then I asked them, well, how about student org information? Again, pretty big response that first year for texting, nothing the next 2 years, and again, we want email. We have too many emails, but we want email. And then I asked them, well, how about school-sensitive information, like time-sensitive, like scholarship deadlines and, you know, career services opportunities and graduation information and that kind of stuff that they really need to pay attention to and hit by a certain date. And you can see it's like overwhelmingly, we want email. So, you know, it's a conundrum. What does all this mean, really? Forget text messaging. Just forget it, because they don't want it. I frankly don't understand it, because my kids are, even I text message, you know. But on the other hand, they still want email, and I kind of understand that, because at least for me personally, when someone stops me in the hall and says, "Hey, can you add this picture to that web page?" and I'll say, "Send me an email," because that way I can red flag it, and even if I forget it that day, I go back to my my Outlook and see, oh, I red flagged that. Oh yeah, I got to do that, and I can do it. So I can kind of see their reasoning, and that they still want email because they need to be able to organize things. They need to be able to, like, maybe ignore it at the moment, but sift through it later. So here's what we're doing at ASU, and this is brand new. I went to the SCON conference in Las Vegas this year, which was LSAC and Admissions Electronic Services. Like, I know some of you were there. And I kind of had a light bulb go off over my head. I actually taught this past spring at the journalism school, because I have a journalism background, and I was teaching them online media where they learn to blog and put things on, make websites and stuff like that. But the whole blogging thing was like, gee, maybe we should use that for law school communications. So what we did was we went to GoDaddy. Yes, I know you all know GoDaddy, but it is a Phoenix company, so we like to use them. And we like Danielle Patrick. She was, in Scottsdale. And I set up an account so that we could have 25 blogs. Because I thought, I'm on the blog train right now. I've become the blog queen at the law school. And so I set them up with a blog called, and I kind of had a little contest within the student services staff of what to call it. And they came up, one of the secretaries came up with a daily disclosure, which we thought was really cute. In the past, we have given access to student leaders and to staff to post to each class. Each year has their own distribution list, which I'm sure is pretty common. And we've given student leaders and staff permissions to post to those distribution lists, which I'm on all of them as the director of IT. I'm on. It's just tons and tons of email, and that doesn't include the emails they get from their Blackboard sites from their class instructors. So I know they get a lot of email, and a lot of it probably has nothing to do with, 80% of them don't care about, the rest. They care about their 20%, and the rest is trash. So this year, we're going to require them to post to the blog, to put it in an appropriate category, and then use tags. So, I didn't test this, so let me try this. It won't. Here, let me jump out really quick, because I want to show it to you. So our hope is we created a Captivate training to show them how to post, and we're actually next week going to be giving that to them and giving them the accounts to be able to post to it. So let me see. There it is. So this is a blog that's our actual students, real live Sandra, Dale, Connor students there. And so these are the categories. Anytime anything gets posted under a certain category, like, let me see from here, career services, they can click on it and they will get anything that was put under that career services. So if they really want to know, oh gosh, I wonder what opportunities there are this week. They can click on that and get that. As well, they're going to be encouraged to tag things. I can't really see what the words are, so I'm just going to click on one. And anything tagged with that, now, again, this was tagged Justice Court, but if, for example, if it's a student org, they will tag it with the student org name. So if it was the Black Student Law Association, they would tag it with that. So any student that came to this and wanted to find out a specific, the news or post from a specific org, they would post on, or they would click on that tag. If they wanted to just generally see all student org posts, they would post to, or they would click on student org, the button. So it's a little complicated, but it's not really that complicated. It's complicated for the people who post. So as you know, we're going to try to do some training and make sure that the student org leaders and the staff, because student services and career services and financial aid are going to be using this as well, that they post correctly. And then somebody, probably me, until I can find somebody else to do it, needs to kind of monitor it and just make sure that if someone forgot to put tags in, to go in and put tags in and that kind of thing. My hope is, though, and then every day, every afternoon, we're going to set up an automatic email to go out and remind students, at least for a while, go check the daily disclosure, go check the daily disclosure, go check the daily disclosure. And basically, we're making it their responsibility to get their news, but it's still organized. And actually, it's much more organized than it is in their Outlook boxes or Gmail or whatever they use. So we're hoping that this works. So this is kind of like my answer to how do we defeat the email thing and stop hearing the, well, we get too much email, I missed it, I must have deleted it. They can't delete this. It's here. And they have no excuse not to go check it at all. So that's our philosophy. We'll see if it works. Okay, help me out here. I don't want it to go from the beginning. Okay, good. So it's kind of like, I liken this to a push and a pull. I mean, we've always pushed the information out to students. Push, 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 push. Now we're pulling them. We're going to make them come to us, make it their responsibility to find things. If there's something that didn't get posted to the blog and they didn't know about it, okay, that's you know, the staff's fault or the student org's fault. The student has no excuse, and then they can complain to the dean all they want. You know, that's cool. But from day-to-day stuff where it's actually posted to the blog, this is going to be their responsibility. We're just going to, it's kind of an experiment, but I'm hoping it'll work. And the other reason why I like this is because once the IT department sets up the blog, it's sort of, except for kind of monitoring it for tags, we're not allowing any comments. It's just a communication, you know, it's just to push, get the information out. There's like no IT support, or very little IT support required. The other thing that we're trying to do is really take advantage of mobile computing because of the fact that almost everybody has a smartphone these days, that or an iTouch even, or something that is web-enabled iPad, and we really want to take advantage of mobile computing. Now, Arizona State has just, in this month actually, moved over to Blackboard 9, and we're actually now being hosted at Blackboard, which is kind of a change for us, but we're such a huge university, it just got impossible for the university to support it. Even at our law school, I would say about 95% of our classes have Blackboard sites, including our adjunct classes. So it's just gotten huge. So they've gone to Blackboard 9, which does offer mobile service on just about anything you have. So that's kind of, you just have to go on and configure your unit, which you do for anything. And then Arizona State has gotten on the bandwagon and made their student services site mobile friendly. So all you have to go on is, and you don't have to, I think you do have to download something they're pushing Sprint. It's funny because you go to the side and it looks like it only works on Sprint phones. But if you just go a little bit further, it's like, well, we want, because ASU is big right now on getting corporate partners. It's just something that our university is doing, right or wrong. If you guys ever saw or heard about Adrian Sanier, who was our chief technology officer, who has now moved on. That's a whole other story. He was very big in outsourcing. And a lot of it made sense. We were one of the first schools that go to Google Mail, and that's been very successful for us. And so, but anyway, you could go here and you can download it, and you can see your grades and register for classes and email your professors. You can do just about everything from here. So at our school, they can get to Blackboard and they can get the services from their mobile units. And so for us, we have a community site. It's separate from our website. It's hosted by another company. It's kind of a solution website. So it's by yourmembership.com. And it's basically used for our alumni, but we also use it for kind of general population. And that's how we send out all our email blasts. So if we're having an event or something, or somebody published a book or whatever, we use that to send our emails. But it's also a place for students to come on and get news and find out about upcoming events, and alumni, students and alumni. So it has the ability to be mobile friendly as well, although we haven't taken advantage of it yet, but it's on the plan. And then also make our blog mobile friendly. Now the blog is just literally brand new, so I really haven't tested it at all, but that's the goal, is to make it friendly. And in addition with that blog, we're doing a whole bunch of other blogs, but they're more, the law school newsletter is now going to be a blog. We have a ton of centers, new and old, that are going to have newsletters, so we want to make that as mobile friendly as possible. So that's kind of the communication side. That's what we're doing to kind of battle that whole problem. And then the other side was, I have taught at the law school in the past, although we haven't offered this class in a few semesters, we've just been too busy. But we had a courtroom technology class that I taught with another faculty member, and basically the class was how to present a case using technology in the courtroom. All the new federal courtrooms all have technology, and many of the old ones, and even state and county and city courtrooms are going this way. So we thought it would be a good idea to kind of at least teach them how to use PowerPoint, because a lot of them didn't back in 2000 when I started there, 2005, 2006 when I was teaching it. Didn't even know how to use PowerPoint. And so we taught them PowerPoint, case map, and time map, and time matters, I guess, is the other one we taught. Kind of just how to use the technology, how to put a case together. We gave them a case. We had a case already. We had pictures. We kind of provided all the pieces to it, and then taught him how to put it together into a case that they could present in a courtroom using the technology that's available. Projectors, computers, document cameras, those kind of things. So we haven't done that in a while, but I wanted to know, a student really liked that, because it was a very small class. We usually only had 7 to 15 students at any given time. It was a 2-credit class, front-loaded in the semester. It was actually it was a lot of work, but it was front-loaded so you were done by week 8, and then you didn't have it for the rest of the semester. So we assumed a lot of people would take it, and we haven't offered it for about 3 years now. So I asked them, I wanted to know, would you take that class, the courtroom technology, which is the blue one, which, it went up and down over the past 3 years. But the one that really surprised me, that I just kind of threw in there, because it's kind of been on my mind for a few years, is would you take a class that teaches you about law practice technology? In other words, how to run a law practice, and what software and hardware and technology and online services and anything like that that would help you either have your own law firm or help you get a better job at an established law firm. And that overwhelmingly, I had like 95.6 this year said yes, I would take that class that was offered. It's not on our books to offer it right now at all. It's not in the plan, but it's something that we'll be talking to the dean about. I kind of thought it was maybe fluky the first 2 years, but it's obvious it's definitely something they want. And with our new dean, his big focus has been to make sure that our students really get out of law school prepared to practice law, and not just know the theory, and he wants them to be able to hit the ground running. And so this is a class that would kind of add to that. So that's really what we're doing at Arizona State at the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law. And if you have any questions or you want to say what you're doing at your school and give anybody else any ideas, I'd love to hear it.
Are all the school departments required to post all their
stuff
to the blog?
Yeah, anything that in the past has gone to student lists, like publicly,
right,
now have to go to the blog, including clinics, anything, because we want to really make one place that the student can come to and find the information they need and have no excuse for, oh, I didn't know.
Do they still send individual emails?
No, we won't be letting them. Now we'll still have those lists for like the dean's purpose and for a few things that we really don't want to publish on a public blog. But for the most part, we're going to post there.
Do they post in advance? Say, I know that Student Services is going to be doing something in a week. Do they post it? They
can post it in advance. Actually, we use WordPress. You can actually post things and then tell it when to post. So they can do that if they want. They can, repeat posts. We're really kind of wide open just to see what's going to happen and if the students like it.
You had mentioned, kind of following along with that, that one of your plans with the blog is to, email it out to people or email reminders in the hopes that your students get habituated to checking the blog.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do with the incoming 1Ls next year? Are you going to just email them? Or are you going to expect that they'll just kind of pick up on that as part of the school culture?
We kind of started something a few years ago with the 1Ls. We have a Blackboard site that they get on immediately, whether they've been accepted, they've been offered a place at the law school, whether they've accepted our offer or not, they get on our Blackboard site. So they come in pretty used to checking that site constantly. So I think that the transition to getting 1Ls to do that, we may have to, you're right, that's something I didn't think about. We may have to handhold them for just a little bit, but I think the fact that they get all their registration information, where to park, they find roommates, all that kind of stuff on that Blackboard site. I think transitioning them into, instead of checking that, they'll now check this. I hope it'll be pretty easy.
And if I could have just a follow-up on this notion of a law practice tech course, and one of the goals of this course, I assume, being teaching them the sort of office software, like email, right? I mean, when they're going to graduate and when they're in practice, presumably they're going to be inundated with hundreds of emails a day. They're not necessarily going to have a blog.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, have you thought at all about kind of just using this problem, the fact that students are complaining about so many emails, as a kind of like an outside the classroom teaching moment?
No, not really. I mean, that's a good point. But on the other hand, we're not the only people sending them email. They're getting email from their Blackboard sites through their professors. They're getting university email. They're getting email between themselves. So I don't think that that's really going to be too much of an issue. But that would be something that would be good to address in that class. It's like, how do you manage client email and make sure you don't lose it, you don't misplace it. Even at our law school, a few years ago, Arizona State put in a email border, spam border, and it was blocking some stuff that professors who were still, active lawyers at the same time were not getting emails they needed, and it was horrible. So you never heard a faculty complaining so much as over that stupid spam border. But where's my email? Well, it's gone. I mean, literally, the border would just bounce it out into space. So it's not like it would put it in a folder. It was gone. So things like that, because I know we send emails out to firms all the time that treat our email like spam. So that's things like that that's actually a really good. I didn't even think of that to include in that class, but definitely email treatment would be a great part of that class, email management.
Yeah, I was wondering what incentives do you give the students to fill out the survey?
I don't. I am nice. Literally. That sounds kind of silly. I'm nice, so I'm nice to them. When they ask me for help, I've given them help. I've got pointed them in the right direction. I've been very good to them. They know me from the get-go, from when they're not even in law school yet. They meet me at orientation. It's really a personal relationship. And when I started it was just kind of, I just want to find out, about text messaging. And I thought, well, I'll ask them these other things. And since then, it's become like this thing. So now the people who are 3Ls, well, I didn't ask them this year, but they've already done it for a couple of years. And if we keep doing it, it'll just be like, oh, it's spring. Okay, Lori's survey's here. Let's just do it. It's not horribly long. I try to make the things where I ask them about what they use. It's like one big grid where they can choose rather than an individual question for each one. So I try to condense the survey. And if you guys want the survey, you can email me. And I'm so dumb because I didn't put my email address up here, but it's Laurie, Laurie, .Ralston @asu.edu. It's RALSTON for Ralston, like the dog food. But I tried to make it easy on them. So that was like I said, it'd be really helpful if you did this, and it only is going to take you about 10 minutes of that, and it would be great. And I usually try to do it right before spring break. And then I send them a reminder during spring break and one right after they get back. And so I sent out 3 saying, the second one's like, hey, if you've already done this, great, thank you very much. But if you haven't, you could spare a few minutes. I try not to push, I don't want to push it too close to finals because they just won't do it. And then spring break's kind of iffy. But they're law students, so most of them don't go anywhere. They still come to the law library and study. And so I figured it was the best time, and I get 25 to 30% response. So, for kind of this non-scientific, non-researchy research, that's pretty good. And it seems to be a good slice of our actual classes, demographic-wise.
I'm sorry, I may have missed it. What do you use to actually do the survey?
Oh, SurveyMonkey.
SurveyMonkey.
I'm a SurveyMonkey
and is that,
person.
you get the commercial account that lets you
Yeah, we pay through the law school, and we
Okay.
actually share it across the law school. So it's on my
Everybody
account.
can use it. Okay.
I give everybody the account.
Yeah.
Like staff. I don't. Obviously, the students don't get to use it, and then the
Right.
dean's got his own private one that they pay for, so he can keep that private.
And there was a program yesterday about another survey. You thought about sharing your survey and letting other schools use it. And comparing data and seeing an aggregate of
Yeah, I went to that.
Because I don't imagine any of the students at most other schools would be that demographically radically different than ASU.
Probably
I'd
not.
be curious to compare.
Yeah,
Students from the
that would be
Northeast,
yeah.
students in a night program, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want my survey, just give me an email. I don't have a problem sharing it at all. I am trying to write this up into a paper to get it published. So if you want to share some anecdotal information with me, if you've got something to kind of add to this conversation that I'm having with myself, I do that a lot. I talk to myself all the time. I would love that because I am writing it by myself, and I know it'd be kind of a little bit better to pull in some other people. It would be great. Any other questions?
Just, we taught an advanced legal research in the spring, and in the beginning of the class, we had them set up Google Reader accounts, and we shared with them the survey of logs, LAWG, and showed them how to set up Google Alerts.
Yeah.
And what we got back in terms of the evaluation of the class is that these are mostly 3Ls, and in their own job experiences, they were being asked, because they were the younger person in an assumption of technology know-how, to do this competitive intelligence on clients and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's just really, I think it could be a 3-credit class. Because not only are we going to teach them things like searching and setting up things where information comes to them, how to deal with your email, but also things like time matters and case map and actual things that they use, and Word, Excel. There's a lot of people who don't know how to use Excel, and there's a lot of people on our staff that are like secretaries and administrative assistants who don't know how to use Excel. There's a lot of faculty though. So I think that could actually be like a 3-credit course at some point. Any other questions?
I'm curious if your blog integrates with your calendar, and if you've had any issues with that.
No, but that's a good idea. I'll have to look for a plug-in. I did another blog for a project that we have called Prevail Project by this wacky guy named Joel Garreau, who used to work for the Washington Post. He's like the future. Oh, in fact, he spoke in Baltimore. He was the keynote speaker. He's now at our college, and he's really great. I love it. But he's like got these wacky ideas, and he's like this futurist, and he has like no idea how technology works. And I love him, but he just drives me crazy. Anyway, so he wanted this website for the Prevail project, and he wanted anybody to be able to post on it, anybody. And he wanted this and that, and translate it and share it, and so I am the blog queen now. So if you want to know about any plugins, I probably can tell you. In fact, the blog, I downloaded a really cool piece of software. If you're into this, which I am, kind of geeky, called Artisteer. It's like Mouseketeer, but it's Artisteer, and it's like $50. It's dirt cheap for the blog and the WordPress and just basic website. What it does is it's kind of a tabbed application that lets you build a blog theme. So you get to pick the background and the size of the window and the header, and you can put pictures in there and colors and icons next to the buttons, and you're going to have the menu on this side or on this side, and it's very cool. And I built that blog, and I built about 4 other blogs in it so far. For something that's very informational, it's great. If you don't want anything that's like too flashy, like for some of our centers, we gotta have more. I had to buy themes, but for just regular run-of-the-mill blogs, you can use Artisteer. It also does HTML templates, but they don't play nice in Dreamweaver. So if you want to use it for that, you can too. It's very cool because it sets up all your columns and your div tags and everything, and then you can go in there and edit it as you need to as you get it into your editor.
What is it again?
It's called Artisteer, like musketeer, but with the EER on the end. It's very cool. It's like my new favorite thing. I've been like using it for everything.
We've done that where we've integrated a calendar into a portal that also has blogs, and one issue we found was on the calendar, what do you want to make public or not make public? So we have to make sure that the events people check the appropriate box and double check that before we release it to the wild.
Well, and we actually kind of do that anyway on our regular website, and we used to show everything but classes on it, because in our calendar it's got everything. Whoever said that yesterday, soup to nuts. It's got everything in it, and our communications people were just like, they hated it. And so we just redid our website, so we revamped it so that now the default is the public calendar. It only shows things people from, anybody can come to, which we have a lot of those, so it's fine. But they do have to choose the right thing when they set up the event.
So we've had our blog out there for about 2 years, and it's divided into various categories, and I can see the hit rates in the technology categories. And it's actually quite low. They don't read the emails about technology changes. They don't read the blog either. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They'd rather walk in and help us and find out what.
Yeah, well, I have the leadership at our school is like, they'll either do it or they won't get the information, and so we're like, okay, we'll try it. It's just like anything, if you don't try it, you won't know if it works, and it may not work at all, and we may have to scrap it, but we're going to give it a shot. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much for
Especially since you got 3 years.
Yeah, I know. Well, we started out alarming and it's like, oh, yes. It is.
George was a $25
They give away prizes, they loved it, but it didn't change enough.
How many surveys total participated? That's want to invite career services vision to
and it's usually they're sending it to real specific groups, like missions are sending it like those.
Email in, vital skill. Even I can get torqued.
It is. I used it as a doctoral student, so how I kept all my data, I gathered all my data, and it's rock solid, man.
What's your doctorate?
Education.
Workshop. For some reason, I'm trying to sing your name. Well, I know you've been involved with it before. Yeah. I'll send you my name. Fantastic. Good. That's yeah, so are you skating now? Did you sign up for a team? No.
That's a great idea.
This is really interesting. I plan to ask them. Make use of what you've already taken trouble to make over the last few years. I'm not sure if I would be able to get the well, the response is one thing. I want to be careful about sending it out. Two, so I'll have to see if I have permission to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because some of the questions actually, it's not just like an ownership question. It's like has implications for the kind of courses people would provide.
Yeah.
But I would love to see what results.
A whole bunch of friends of mine back in the
And everybody's kind of got different questions. But I think it's like really, more questions.
No, I think that those are, I think your three stated, motivations for the community survey are great. And so if I get anything back, if I get permission to do it, and I get anything back, and it's interesting, it's not just, it's not just anecdotal responses, certainly share it.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great. Okay, well, I think I still have your email, so.
I'll email you.
Yeah, you should come to.
And I had, text also, and I'll put in the subject line please share this. Is there any way you can export? Because we use Survey Monkey too.
Absolutely.
Can you? Is there a way? Is there a format?
Well, feels bad. But I can definitely, if you want to like see the results, actual hardcore results, I wouldn't mind sharing those either. Because I don't really have a reason not to.
When I get back, I'll take a look at survey and see if there's some way you can.
We just upgraded it. It looks totally different. It's neat.
Really?
We've got a new icon and the whole bit. So we have added some functionality.
Good job. I also really like the nice. It's really
that is why I interest new designer and there's a few with sugar on top, and they do it. But that's me.
Pretty tough.
Good seeing you.
I know.
Hey, good. Nice to see you.
Oh, are you?
So the blog, I think, is interesting. Pushing out, sort of changing the culture of the income. Have you set a time each day when you push by? Just so, like the idea is they go to that site once a day. But if people are just rolling it up randomly, like you could miss something.
Thank you for being
Yeah, just Yeah. And then also, I think maybe you don't have this, like, who does your CLE stuff?
Well, it's a bunch of different people. Most of our alumni development. But we also have graduate and executive. We don't have them yet, but we have graduate.
Right, you dream it, baby.
She's also doing CLE, so the two of them.
All right, because I'm not actually in the law school. I'm in the policy program, and they want to start developing CLEs.
I'm trying to think about that. Our Indian legal program does it.
So they do it in-house?
Yeah, they do all their own stuff.
Okay.
And then our law science and innovation people, they do all their own stuff. These are really type of programs, our alumni programs do, and the other, but these are definitely type of programs or centers. They do it.
Okay, and I see they deliver it through legal spam.
Well, they did, but not anymore. They wanted to start.
Just doing it on their own.
Legal spam is gonna up our charges, like, that's $5,000.
I've been looking at it, do they take a pretty big cut?
Well, they did for us at first, they wanted to get something more, and we kind of milked it for all it's worth, and then they wanted to hammer us, and I don't remember the exact, but it was. It was even worse than that, I don't remember, but they didn't want to do it.
Okay.
It was monthly, it was like, it was really horrendous. So we just got a new website, we're using .net, so we're trying to figure out, sell this stuff through there, we're trying to figure out how to, we can sell them through there, but how do we regulate their access and all that kind of stuff.
That's right where we are right now.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. We can sell DVDs, and that's what they've been doing, is they like, oh, we'll just go to sell the DVDs. They've sold them all along. They sold them through legal spam, but.
Okay. And have they, is there, like, we're just kind of curious, like, we assume there's a market? Are they doing okay?
It's not huge. They make like, $500-600 a year. It's not huge.
That's depressing.
Yeah, but I think that, if you need like a more centralized base for Arizona, besides, well, here's the problem. I'll tell you the problem. Problem is Maricopa County Bar Association.
Okay.
They have a huge CLE online, the whole bit.
Okay.
So they're like,
they're established.
They're huge, and so we're kind of like trying to get in sideways. And
I know we're competitors, but it would be kind of interesting to have our programs and to see if there's like a common ground, at least for the indigenous stuff.
Yeah, well, it may be that you guys are doing kind of different focuses. Ours is a lot of gambling. There's a lot of gambling stuff, and then just various other things, like we just had a sustainable energy in the tribal lands, and it's weird stuff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think about. And then the other one they did this year was Repatriation Act, which is something I don't know what it is. Apparently they got stuff back or something. I don't know. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll drop them a line. I don't know how that would be received.
Well, it might be the woman in charge. If there's the executive, not the executive director, kind of there's a faculty member, and then the person really running it. Her name is Kate Rozier.
Okay.
And she's actually a graduate of ASU, but I don't think, and she's really nice. She probably wouldn't have a problem with
Is it
sharing.
with a Z?
Kate Rozier, R-O-S-I-E-R, Rozier. Her husband's one of the Indian legal
Yeah.